So is it too dark? I kind of like the low lighting, but am I too dark? Can you see me?
Yeah,
Oh, the
I can
camera?
see, yeah, I'm doing the
I can
same.
see you.
I've got the mood lighting on this end as well.
Jeff's chilling. Yo, whoa, really quick, really quick, really quick, really quick. Jeff, 80, I think it was an 88, but the early 88 E30s had the late models or the early model bumpers, the metal
Yeah,
ones that you have, but they were just like tucked in a bit, which is actually kind of a cool little fact. Most people don't know about. They're just a little tucked in. Yours are a little bit more
yeah,
out. Dude,
right.
sold for 20 grand with the
What
beige
did?
interior on Bring a Trailer. Like, dude, that's such strong money. Has
It's
like
funny.
160K. I can't even believe that, dude.
And what,
20?
just an 88
Just
E30?
type in E30. It's one of the most recent. Just type in E30 and Bring a Trailer. It's just interesting that like I'm sorry I'm
Yeah,
laughing, guys. I'm sorry.
no, it's funny. It's been a real funny. Yeah, look at that.
20, bro?
Yeah, this is
Jeez.
odd that these are all because these were real soft for a
Dude,
while.
these are like 14, 15.
Well, it's so I'm gonna a quick tangent. I'm gonna like I am not by any means an expert in this, but I mean I watch this stuff pretty closely and I try to form hypotheses around it. So like 4 years ago, the E30 kind of blew up. Like it went from being like really cheap to all of a sudden people were paying real money for one. But that happened pre-COVID, right? That the run up for
Hmm.
E30s happened pre-COVID. But that was a real run up. That was like genuine. The market is saying, "Oh wow, this is a decent car. They've been undervalued, so there's going to be some value added to the marketplace." Okay, so that was already happening. So, but then COVID hit, and COVID was like an artificial boost where it took things that were, maybe in a similar place before that, like, kind of just
Yeah. It
out
was
there,
it
but
just
but
boosted everything, really.
but it supercharged it. But the E30 didn't benefit from that because the E30 was already having an organic. So it kind of looked like, oh shit, the E30 is cratering. It's like, well, no, the E30 was just sort of going through a natural correction, but because COVID has so much artificial fake shit happening, everybody's like, oh, that's it. E30's done, it's cooked, it's peaked. It's like, well,
Yeah.
no, it was just a subset of the fact that it was actually a justifiable or it had gone through a price increase with merit, whereas so many other things are going through price increase without merit. And what's so interesting right now is, yeah, as you guys know, like I'm really hot on the 964 era 911. I'd love to
Yeah.
find one. There were like four no sales in the past 10 days on Bring a Trailer for those. And it's like,
Dude, I've been seeing similar stuff. A lot of no
yeah.
sales. A
Well,
lot of people, a lot of things that I've been saying, wow, I can't believe I actually threw one in for this week. And the whole point
but
I threw it in was to say, wow, no one's
but
bidding
those
on this.
yeah, but
Go ahead.
those cars got hyperinflated on what was
Yeah.
effectively a house of cards. Whereas it's so interesting just looking at these recent E30 results. Like, well, that's a car that didn't have that. That's a car that was going through a natural ebb and flow. It wasn't artificial. So then, and it's so interesting. The guy I know, that mechanic on the Vineyard who turned me on to the S6 I have, he actually in the comments on an Instagram post the other day, he was like, "Don't sell your E30 yet because it's still going to go. It's going to go further, right?
Yeah.
Because it had." And it's like, man, that's so interesting. He said that, and I
Dude,
just wonder if it's like there was stuff that COVID artificially inflated that now plummeting, and you got all these people who don't want to sell because they're like, well, shit, I just paid double that a year ago, and it's like, yeah, because you
Hmm.
paid based on an illusion. Whereas the stuff that's always been steady and always been like it's like an investment, right? It's like an investment that's stable and conservative and slow growing, but it's always growing versus one that is do 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 do. So
definitely,
anyway,
it's definitely a little bit more of a long-term thing because,
Yeah.
over the long term, you are going to see that constant growth from year to year. I
right.
will say though, dude, actually, it's funny you say that. It had me fooled because I was like, yeah, the prices are going down a bit on these. Looking through them now, I guess they're still strong, but there's almost a part of me that wants to disagree with what you were saying on. I feel like they might be like for an IS, 20 in that 20
They're
grand
more
range. I feel like
reasonable. They're
that's
more like,
really
okay,
low.
it makes sense.
Yeah. I just feel like they're not going to get much higher than maybe in like a decade, maybe that's a different conversation, but I
Yeah,
don't know, I just feel like that's a lot for that car almost. 20.
I don't know. It is interesting though that you can see like kind of after August, there's been
No,
a
you're right,
real
dude. You're
steady
right.
rise.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing. It's just like, damn. Dude,
Well,
sell that
and
shit and buy a 964.
yeah, um,
Oh,
no,
and the
I
996. Sandwich that
yeah,
money together.
but then that's a poverty mindset, right? I don't want to do that. That's like the whole like, oh man, I got to sell this stuff. No, it's like no, I just want
Well,
more. I want more shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
I guess, but if you really drove that 964, it's like I don't feel like you'd be feeling like a void. But I get it. You're a collector. You want to collect them. I'm the same way. Not
Well,
to
then,
your extent, not to your extent, but I get it. Like it's nice to stack them up.
well, like today, like that S6 was kind of a car that I was like, yeah, I don't know why. That would be a smart car to sell because I got it for next to nothing. I haven't put a lot into it, so I had the clutch redone in it, or clutch replaced in it, and man alive, it changed that car. And I
Really.
could not stop driving it today. I was like looking for every excuse, and I just love that shit. Like that is so much fun to me, and that's what always sucks me back in. It's just like the second you do something that makes it better, it's like, oh yeah, this is this is it. Anyway, John, we have to be respectful of the fact that I was late. John's got a newborn, and I don't want to fall asleep in front of everybody. So let's
We'll get this going.
so Lars, you're gonna kick us off. So I'm gonna give us a little bit of a quick intro, and then you can
We
take
can just
over.
we can just go. I think that was good conversation I have. So we can just leave that whole part in.
Well, then we
If you want to formally introduce the program,
I'll
feel
do a
free,
quick
Jeff.
form. Yeah, I won't give myself a total suck job. So, this is the commongear.com podcast. Thanks for joining. I think this is episode 31 or 32. Each week, myself, John, and Lars, we get together. We talk about some notable sales on the digital auction front. Now, this week, normally we pick three cars. It's like, oh wow, it's an interesting number and a surprising result. We're gonna flip that around a little bit and look at cars that are not selling, or something that's a surprising result in light of the fact that most folks are saying the market is softening. There are a lot of collector and specialty cars that are not selling. When they do go to auction, they're either reserve not met, or the sellers are refusing to sell. There's been some instances of cars that have sold, and then the sellers just say, nope, not selling the car because it didn't get the number they thought it was going to get. So either way, we're going to look at some cards this week as opposed to being necessarily notable sales. We're going to be being notable non-sales. So with that being said, I'm kicking over to Lars, who has picked some cards this week that are worthy of discussion. So Lars, over to you.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, John, you might need to make me
I
co-host.
just made you a co-host, sir.
Perfect.
You are a co-host of this wonderful meeting.
Okay, awesome. Share screen. So yeah, this is actually kind of fun because what I wanted to do here was talk about the Cybertruck, right? And I'm going to be honest, I'm just going to start off by saying I think that this thing really did take me by surprise. When this first came out, when they first released it, right, in 2021 or whatever, I say released very lightly. Everyone, it made a huge statement for the brand Tesla. Everyone was expecting to see these on the road. This was going to be, the revolutionary EV that changes the game, and all other manufacturers are going to, kind of have to step up and match that. They got, I think the number was for the reserves, they were doing $100 pre-order reserves. So when they do release the vehicle, you had an allocation to, place your special order, get one at the dealer. You go through the website, the marketing's crazy. There's this futuristic spaceship design. It's a crazy looking thing, right? And $100, fully refundable, and you can just reserve one for when it comes out. And they're advertising this thing as being relatively affordable, like they're going to make a lot of them. Well, that was like 2, 3, 4 years ago that they took these pre-orders, and I believe the number was 2 million, right? So they caught 2 million pre-orders since they unveiled it, And if you go through, you can check the track record, but every year they say it's going to be releasing, quarter three, quarter four at the end of the year. And I know I'm kind of going on here with this, but I just think it's so interesting how no one really talks about this, but this is a vehicle that has been on the cusp of coming out every year for the last 4 years, and there's still 1.9 million reservations on it. Basically, what Elon did, which is super smart, he got a free $200 million loan with 0% interest. And then whenever he needs it back, or whenever they need it back, they just pull out their deposit and he returns the money. But it's a really interesting thing, and I kind of think it's worth discussing. But yeah, and just to kind of put the icing on the cake, it's supposed to be, as of recent news, and I'm not like a huge Tesla hater or like Elon hater. I think a lot of the stuff he does is actually extremely cool and really important. But this is just a gimmick. And again, it's supposed to be coming out from recent news end of this year. So, November, December. We'll see if that happens. But I mean, I just know it's not going to. What do you guys think? What do you think about that? 3 years.
I'm feeling this is vaporware at this point, Lars. It really, it's. We've been hearing about this thing for a while. It's going to come out. It's going to come out. It's going to come out, and it hasn't come out. I mean, and meanwhile, like Rivian has an EV electric truck out there that's usable, popular, and it's taking Tesla forever to bring this out. Like, are we ever going to see this? Are we ever going to see this on the road? I don't know. In what and how many numbers? It's just. I'm not a Tesla hater. I'm not. I think the other cars have been fine quality products, but enough is enough with this thing. It's piss or get off the pot.
I think Elon is fascinating. I think he punks us a lot. And Lars, I think you're on the money that he basically got himself a loan. And because everything he does is around like right now, everything he's building is to fund SpaceX. Like he wants SpaceX is the company he is truly focused on. Tesla, like if you think about the fact that in the late 90s, everyone was up in arms when Porsche built a Cayenne and the Boxster, and everyone's like, oh, these things suck. They're not true Porsche. Like, yeah, Porsche built those so they could keep building the 911.
This is his funding company.
Exactly right.
This is the fund for SpaceX.
So the fact that and the hilarious thing about all of this is the people who are like Tesla lovers are. I mean, I'm just gonna go out and say it. Like philosophically, they're probably like polar opposite of like where Elon is on a philosophy, like on a just a belief standpoint. And so like there's always
it's very much true.
Political standpoint.
So he's just like. This is
typical EV owner.
This is fish in the barrel because I can just build it. And I mean, I tell you, this dawned on me no more clearly than the first time I rode in a Tesla was like 6 months ago. It was an Uber. And I was like, these cars are gigantic pieces of shit. Like they are, well made. They're so cheaply made. The interior, like the hilarious thing, and I have coworkers who go on about how wonderful their Tesla is. And they're like, oh, it's got this, like they literally talk about the touchscreen as being like some sort of a amazing feature. I sat in the crowd, I'm like, this man, he took a play school grade interior and then he stuck an iPad in it. And then he had decided to charge everybody 60 grand for the privilege of riding around the car with functionally no interior outside of an iPad. And it's like, I think it's brilliant, but
that's the thing. It is. It's like you want to hate him, but it's brilliant.
Oh no, he's brilliant. But I love it. Like when people talk about their favorite politician, the one like they would die for, they're like, oh, well, he operates in 4D chess. It's like, well, no, he's just an idiot who got lucky. Elon actually does operate in 4D, if not 5D chess. Like the more you study him, the more you're like, holy shit!
No, that dude, he's very.
He just goes off his own whims.
This will never get built. Mark my word. This will never ever get built.
It'll never get built. But look at what we're doing right now. We're talking about him around his site, and it's free marketing for everyone. Because look at this thing. It's like, oh my god, it's coming out. And
no,
for a while, I believed it. Wow, that's going to be freaking crazy.
It's ridiculous looking. It looks like
It would never.
Jeff, you might remember the old Mac game Spectra from the early 90s. Looks like something out of Spectra, for God's sakes.
It does, and he's been known, like, over the past few months. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but he's basically been taking this thing and like putting like body mock-ups on there to resemble like a Tundra or Silverado, and he's just doing it he's totally just making fun of everybody. And
I kind of love it though.
I do too. So yeah, this like, that's never happening. No, no one ever.
Dude, that's like it's a cool concept, like that garage door thing. And then they made crazy claims, 14,000-pound towing, and then they said 500-mile range. I mean, that's a crazy claim.
And here's the other thing: what if he's doing this? And like, so now, John Grover, what's the truck that GM has? The Hummer, right? They brought the Hummer back.
The Hummer EV is back, and there's a Silverado one coming out that's going to compete with the Lightning.
And how do we know he's not just doing this to get GM to funnel all this cash into an EV program to build, like, to compete with him? And he's just like, suckers, like, go spend
like,
your
he
money
forgot about it type. He's like, oh yeah, that thing.
And it's not even that good. Like, GM's, the Hummer EV is not that good. It's proven that it's got a horrible range. It's not reliable. And so,
well, it's a commodity car. It's like 140K. That's like it's like an Escalade V. It's a very small pool of people.
It's a status car.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's not just like, yeah, we need an SUV. That's like, it's over six figures.
I just feel like he's doing so much of the stuff to get his competition to spend money where they don't need to spend money.
But kudos to him. Well, I'm happy that everyone that was like a little bit of a change of pace from what we normally do, just looking at the different auctions. It was cool to kind of dissect, some news and some current events.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. Good first swing. What else you got?
This was the next one I had. I thought this was like the coolest shit ever because it's almost like what do the pack rats do with the storage? Yeah, the storage units. Like, this is an online auction, and there are some photos in here. There's some really good photos, but you really don't know exactly all the numbers of everything you're getting. I mean, unless the guy went and checked it out in person. But I won't ramble on too long. I'll let one of you guys go. But I will say, you see how expensive these air-cooled Porsche engine rebuilds are. Especially if you want to kind of soup them up a little bit and, maybe give them a stroker or whatever. It can be upwards of like 40 grand. It's absolutely crazy. And then those 400 horsepower motors for the air-cooled, you're spending 50, 60,000. So it's almost like this, in the right hands, this could be worth, I mean, look at all of those. What are those, intake manifolds? Yeah, or they are the plenums. And there's a lot of engine blocks. Yep, like right there. All the blocks. I mean, in the right hands, this stuff could be worth a lot of money. You could build a lot of engines. Sold for 105,000. I mean, you see the G40 tags right here. I don't know if they're all G40s, but I think this was really interesting, and I'm almost surprised it didn't go for more. But I will say this as my last thing. The type of like Porsche expert mechanic who really knows all this stuff in and out, might have not seen this or might have not had the $105,000 to, because, I feel like a modern day, a very nice, clean facility is not going to get this. This is for someone who's like a Porsche expert and knows them in and out, has a specialty shop. I don't know.
What were the comments? Did people think it was a good buy in the comments?
Yeah, let's see what they said.
I think people did. It's a niche thing. That's really what it is, because like, who has the space to take in all these parts? I think that's the number one question. I think people think, oh, this is awesome, but this is a lot different than buying a car for 105 grand. This is a whole freaking warehouse of Porsche parts, and whoever bought this is going to make their money back and then some for sure. It's just the whole aspect of having all these parts and organizing them and putting them somewhere. So, it's these are always interesting. These memorabilia ones on Bring a Trailer are always really interesting to see what they go for. And sometimes they tend to go for less than what you think they would go for. And this is definitely one of them. And I think it just comes down to the fact that it's a shit ton of parts.
Yeah, that's what these people are saying is the biggest thing is
Yeah.
the project is moving all this stuff. But go ahead, Jeff.
So I don't
That's
know if
crazy.
I don't think we were having this podcast when I did this, but you may is one or both you may recall, but back like 2 years ago, I bought out uh, a stash of new old stock Peugeot parts from a
Right. Mm-hmm.
shutter dealer in Rhode Island, and that was the thing that dawned on me was it was gratifying for like I would say 2 months, and it was because I quickly made my money back and then started making a profit because there were things that were very easy to identify as being desirable. It got to be a real drag when I was down to the stuff that was going to require a ton of work to properly market and present. And so what I mean by that is like, a random door gasket or, I don't know, miscellaneous hardware that may have been super useful to somebody, but I would have been waiting for years for that person to come along and say, oh, yeah, I was looking for that. And on top of that, in order to do it correctly, it would be like, all right, I've got to build a website. I've got to get the part numbers onto the website. I got to have the
Mm-hmm.
part numbers searchable. And then I have to like market the site, and in that case,
Yeah.
that was a very niche product, right? That was a very limited audience. And
Yeah, sure.
I ended up just saying to somebody, like, I just put up an ad saying, like, come get the rest of it for $300. And I was happy with that because again, I think at the end of the day, I cleared $2,500 in profit off of it. And it wasn't like a ton of work, but I still spent,
It's a
I
lot of
spent,
work.
what amounted to a whole day. It was 2 half days loading up my car. It was physical work. And like if I put an hourly rate on that, that kind of cuts into your profit pretty dramatically. And then everything else that goes along with just, boxing stuff up, shipping it. I had one shipment that went bad, and I had, a guy kind of torch me on the Facebook group that I was a horrible person. And it was like, well, whatever, you want something really risky ship. So all that is to say, this is not just I think the price paid is
Is it
well under what
It's
the
the
total.
time consent.
is it all this shit though?
But I'm gonna jump in here because I'm actually kind of going through this scenario right now. So Jeff, you may remember 2 years ago, I bought all the old book stock from the guy that owned an exotic car down here on the South Shore.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So the back of my truck was full of, and the interior of my truck was full of car and aviation books. So I'm going through that right now, and then process. Right before I did it, right after I did it, I moved too, so which made it a lot more fun. So the fact of getting all those books online onto eBay, onto Amazon sellers, you were talking about the Peugeot thing, like that's the time consuming process.
Yeah.
Like I still have about 30 something cartons of books that need to go on to Amazon seller or eBay. And will I make my money back in regards to the cash I paid for the actual books? Yes, but the time consuming process of doing it is a lot more.
Right. It's 100%. And now here's the other thing. What I think the buyer here is going to be able to do, hopefully they're not in a situation where they're like, I got to turn a profit immediately. Like, hopefully that's not. I'm assuming that's not where they're at.
No.
But like, what I suspect going to happen is if they are thinking, well, I still want to be cash positive as quickly as possible, is to Lars's point, he is going to put up those air cooled bits, right? He is going to put that stuff up as quick as he can. He's probably going to make a bunch of money right out of the gate. But is that the smart thing to do? But is that the smart thing to do, or is it to say, I'm going to build it right? I'm going to have the web store built. I'm going to inventory everything, and then I'm going to start selling. I will say, the prices for anything, not just air cooled, the prices for anything 9/11 related are going through the roof. Even
also, dude, look at all the transmissions at the end too. You also, I was just looking in the description. You get all of it. You get all.
And I guarantee you, like if
those transits are probably $3 or $4 grand a pop.
Easily. I mean, if you want a
Easily
used,
3 or 4.
if you want like a used 996 motor, for example, which I'm not saying this guy has, like a good used 996 motor is close to 7 or 8 thousand right now. So imagine, and that's for like the mass produced 996. Imagine what a good air cooled core is going for right now. Flat,
Hmm.
it's insane. And
50 engine cases, it says. And he has everything to build an engine. You have the case, and then you throw in a cylinder head, and you fucking. I mean, he has,
but
excuse my language, but he has everything. I mean, he has
he does.
everything to build multiple motors, which, like you said, he could probably sell for 10, 15 grand a pop at least.
But
Even if
I
they're
almost
just
wonder
hodgepodged.
if this makes more sense for like an already established company like a Singer that is
Hmm.
doing a lot of engine builds right now. Like for them, like I don't think this would have been a good buy for someone's like, hey, I'm going to become a 911 parts seller. No,
I think this. I
Yeah,
mean, looking
that's
looking at the buyer's history and in BaT, it looks like they are in the Porsche mechanical business. So
yeah, that's a good point. This isn't for someone like a flipper. Like I'm saying, this was
no,
for someone who knows what, because this has
this
to be in the right hands to be extremely
it seems
valuable.
like this person is in the air cooled German car business.
Yo. And then he almost bought this one motor alone
well,
for
no,
like
this is
half of
this
what
is the
the seller.
seller. This is the seller, I think.
No, the buy. I'm looking at the buyer.
Seller. You're 100% right.
Seller is
My
Henry
bad.
Schmidt.
Yeah,
My bad.
but the
Yeah.
buyer is it kind of in that same realm.
Winning bid. Oh, Jeff,
Oh man,
buddy.
yeah,
Oh, wow. That looks good in white. Good Lord.
yeah.
Oh, white's the color, dude. White's just the color with the blue top. Oh,
Oh
that
yeah,
is a great spec. Would you have your eye on that?
oh yeah.
Dude, blue interior. That's a
But
common.
I'm
It's funny. That's like a common E30 interior. I feel like a lot of the
Hmm.
you see the blue mostly on the convertibles. I think that's a killer.
yeah.
That looks,
I don't think I'm not gonna be able to be that choosy whenever I find one that I can afford.
dude, that's not horrid.
Yeah, but this
No,
person
no. In
who
fact, there's one for sale right now. I emailed this today at a dealership in Michigan for 45 that I asked what they'd give me for the Eurovan in trade. It was kind of pathetic, but
You should get the cash for that if you're going to sell it, because I don't think they give you a good number.
no, they it was a horrible offer. So I just have to hope someone buys it soon.
Yeah.
But hey, everything's getting soft right now. I think it's gonna be a good time to buy something like that. But yeah, back to this parts collection. It's pretty
Oh,
cool. I think it's I I I suspect that whoever's going into this knows what they're doing, but I don't think it's a bad thing to be in. And again, the prices for Porsche parts are only going to go up, so good for them if they can make it work. But my God, it makes me tired just thinking about the amount of heavy lifting they're going to be responsible. Because I think somewhere in the listing that they have to move the parts, like the building's not included, so they got to get the parts out of there. I
yeah.
imagine.
yeah. Yeah. So that is it's just an interesting kind of thing to see.
Yeah,
Don't see it every day.
it
That's
is. It is very organized. I mean, at
Yeah,
least the
it's a
buyer has that going.
stream. Yeah, it's not someone's messy shed of
Right.
crap.
dude, you're
Right.
right though. Transporting this.
Oh my gosh, it tractor
Look at all
trailers.
these connecting rods, dude. You could build so many engines out of this stuff. All the cranks,
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is a win for
starters.
someone who's already an established business
Yeah,
that maybe has a reputation for building high performance motors. Because if that is you and you've already figured out the nickels and dimes of it all, you're looking at this saying, "Holy crap, I can build engines for years
yeah.
and sell them for 50 grand a pop." And you're like, two engine builds, and I've already paid for it.
Yeah,
You're doing okay.
just needs to be in the right hands.
Yeah, yeah. All right. What's our third? Oh, interesting. Bid to see. Yeah. Okay. I've got. Oh, what a cool car. What a cool
It's
car.
cool.
What a really cool card. I'm just gonna throw real quick on this one that I don't know a
Yeah.
ton about these. I don't really know what the going price is, but I do. I mean, I know a little bit, and I feel like this is. I was under the impression these are pretty rare. They're pretty coveted. There's not a whole lot of them. And in terms of like an enthusiastic 70s, 80s car experience, like a vintage car experience, this is one of the ones. And I know it has ties to either racing or rally, but I was almost surprised to see this thing not sell for above 70, just because like things like those like the Cosworth Mercedes and E30 M3s, you see those go up into those ranges pretty easily. And this one's way more rare. I feel like it has just as much prominence in history and kind of that Euro classic flair. I think the fact that it's modified might have a lot to do with, now that I'm looking at it more, I think it is definitely far from stock. So I think maybe that's why, but I don't know. In terms of a really
I think well, this is the new restomod thing of these old alphas, like Alfaholics in the UK has made this like a huge, like they've become like the singer of the alpha of these small alpha GTs. And and this is kind of like an Alfaholics, I guess you would say, I don't know, impersonate. I don't want to use the term ripoff, but it's like an Alfaholics impersonation. So I feel like those cars tend to do better over in Europe So like selling it in the US, it may not have the pizzazz and the status that it would have over in Europe, even though this car is supposedly based in the Netherlands.
This thing looks cool though, doesn't
it? It is. It is like a cool like race car for the road. It's just, I think it's also the market for it too. It's just like it's a very limited market.
No, you're right. You're right. I
But
guess
it's
not
cool.
surprising that it didn't sell, but I was just under the impression that these were like six-figure cars.
If it was a true Alcoholics car, one went last November on BaT for over 300K.
Okay, so you're saying, so this one's been fully resto modded from the ground up.
Yeah, but it's not by Alfaholics. Not by Alfaholics.
Right.
Like it's like if someone did a Singer style 911 without
but it wasn't actually a Singer.
Yep. Yeah. That's what you're getting right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I looked at a car recently and I wish I had it kind of close at hand to bring up because the comments were fascinating. But a guy took what I would think is a W114 or W115 chassis Mercedes with the 6.9, which was the monster motor, like the Ronin car. And they swapped in a 5-speed manual. And like they lowered it on like plus size bunt style wheels, which were what all the W123s had. And I thought the thing was sick. And like just hearing this car run and hearing that motor with the sound and the echo that a manual tends to generate when it's going through a tunnel, whatever. I was like, that is the coolest damn car. But the comments were all like very unforgiving in the sense that the car had a couple rough edges, like it had some things that probably could have been a little more finesse, but they weren't impactful on the actual driving experience. But like everyone just like pilloried the guy because they're like, oh, well, this thing was so poorly done. It's like, it really wasn't poorly done. It was just that it had some finish work it needed. So, yeah. So when it comes to modifying a classic, I think that you have to be absolutely on your game. You have to be 100% over the top. Every last detail. Like, you look at this car, like Lars, your visceral reaction to this car versus the one you showed us, like
you saw me react to it, right?
Yeah. Well, and you automatically were like, that 10% or 9% difference in this car versus that
look at this thing. That is like, okay, that's the 6-figure. Look at that thing. Looks crazy, and the interior is so freaking classy. I would just want to get in that thing and drive. Look,
and suppose, and everything you read about them is that they're amazing cars to drive too.
Dude, it's
anytime Evo does like a story on it, they're enamored with it.
Yeah, 230 horsepower.
It's probably 600 pounds lighter than the E30s, without a question.
Yeah,
with 30 horse, this thing's like an E30 M3 on extreme steroids.
And yeah, so I mean,
here's that.
So the thing. Oh, absolutely beautiful.
Like a
I mean,
freaking go. It's like a go kart. Look how small all this. It's like so light, dude.
But getting back to the car that you brought up, Lars, I also, it didn't hit. I wonder what the reserve was on it, and I'm sure someone I'm sure there's a lot of money dumped into this car. This
still a
this
lot of
car
money,
that
but and that's the problem. It was a lot. They dumped a lot of money into it,
Boom,
but
right there.
well, this is for
well,
Alfaholics.
yeah, but
But
the
the one
one
that
we had originally. I mean,
It's
the
it
actually
one
was
that
funny you
yeah,
it
say
was
that
bid
because
up it
someone
was bid up
said
to 71.
you had to go back. I think yeah.
someone said in the comments they were like, "There's well over 100."
Right. I mean, if you think about it, like
Go to that highlighted comment real quick. Well, I want to see what he's saying. I think it'd be the wet blanket, but it's not really clear what you do with this. I know, but then after some racy parts, but not a real race car, uncomfortable driver. Yeah, and that's the thing. So the Alcoholics,
It's such a good point. It's so true. It's
yeah.
halfway there. It's halfway driver, halfway race car. It has stripped interior, so it's wicked loud inside, but it's like not set up for the track. It has a
Whereas,
cage.
yeah, like a car like that, like a Singer or an Alcoholic, it goes all the way in every
yeah,
category. This thing is not one of those cars, and it's like, yeah, you don't get the benefit of anything. So,
It's probably still great to drive though. And I will say
yeah.
the other one
oh yeah,
we're looking at 70 in the 70s. Because
It's
this
it's a
realistically he wanted 100
it's a
probably.
cool car. It's a nice build. It's just
It does look
but
cheesy compared to the other one. If you didn't
oh,
know
I
cars
know,
and you saw this, it almost looks
totally
like
different
a
feel.
Miata-ish with these wheels and the bolt-on fender flares compared to this thing is just like, oh, what a
it's
freaking
a, like a it's
classic.
like a
Yeah,
it's similar to like I don't know like a hot like an Italian version of like a hot rodded 510 or like a or an O2 from that era, these
right.
small hot rod sedans.
Well, hey Lars, think about that guy who's attached to Audrain, who's won like the Young Timers in that orange 2002. You know who I'm talking about?
Coleman?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that car is kind of cheesy. It's not
Oh no,
really. It's not.
you're thinking of someone else. It's all
He
orange.
he won the Young Timers show like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of the
I
orange one. Yeah,
but I mean, it's not
I don't
like
hate the two. I don't hate the 2002 though. I like the
no,
2002.
no, no. It's more my point is though, like that's an amateur build, right? It's an amateur quality build of like a restomod attempt, and it's just the men from the boys. This car, like we're looking at right now, a Singer 911. Those are cars that deserve 300,000 because someone is putting in $250,000 worth of effort, and
No, you're
so
right. It's a total
you
different class.
total different
Yeah.
class. So the guy with the purple Alpha Junior, I mean, it's just tough. Like he would have been better served keeping it almost stock
Yeah.
and making it just kind of a fun driver because then he would have gotten his money back out of it. The problem is, like, if this went in and he just said, screw it, whatever it sells for, great. That's the right attitude to take with a build like this because you're not going all the way with it. You're not trying to build the Alfaholics version of it. So you're like, okay, it's not going to be that good. So I'm not going to get that kind of money for it. But to hold out for all the money you put into it, you can't do that with a car like this. It's just not feasible. Then you should never have gone down that path of building something that's good, but not quite as good as the one people want to pay 300K for, because you're just never going to be happy with the net price. And I think anytime you go into a heavily modified build, it's really risky, and you kind of just have to say, I don't care. So it's interesting. Like again, not to like the Eurovan that I have for sale. That was modified, but in a really significant way for people who want to own one of those. And all the comments I've gotten from people are saying like, you're not asking enough for it. Wish we had the money, blah, blah, blah. Like I have not gotten one person saying like, oh, wow, that's way too much money. Like everyone's been saying, yeah, we understand how much effort and time went into making that transmission swap happen. And that's, you're probably not asking enough considering. So there is a point where people say like, yeah, I get it. I think it's worth it. But when you're talking about a car like an Alpha, like a 1300 Junior, most people are going to say, yeah, I'd rather just pay 40 grand for a really nice driver that hasn't been overly
Yeah.
modified. or I'll pay 300,000 for one that's absolutely perfect and the best of both worlds.
This
If
is
you
a
live in
different car, though, isn't it? I just realized this is.
well,
I
but I
keep
mean,
on this shit.
but they could have.
This is a
They're similar.
1300.
It's similar.
Well,
It's
this
just and
one's
more
got
we're
like an
looking
extra
at the
100 horse. This thing has like 80
we're still
horse.
looking at the we're still looking at the quality of the build though. That's
Yeah,
what the
we're
that's what
we're
the
talking
focus
we're
is.
talking the build here on
Yeah, and
this.
also this is OEM plus. It looks like the manufacturer could have made this. It doesn't look like a manufacturer would ever really.
Exactly. And that's why people love the singers because they're like Porsche might have actually made this car
Right.
if they had a product line that said you
Well,
can
it
call
might be
Porsche up and
actually
say
be
And
better.
Alpha would have made, and the Alfaholics cars, Alpha could have,
would have
should have
made.
made.
Yeah. This junior, this purple junior, that's just a guy's.
This is like a niche kind
It's just what
of
he wanted. Yeah, it's his own.
resto mod. It's a limited market, as you mentioned,
Well,
Jeff.
yeah. I mean, I think that was a sick lineup for tonight. I think we had some sick ones, and this was really cool to talk about. And I'm glad I threw it in, and it led us to this one. I'm glad I threw this in, and it led us to this one because I
Yeah.
really didn't know much about these. But it does give you some perspective. As I was
Well,
saying, this thing widened itself for a lot. It's kind of a slept-on car, but what I was really thinking of in my head was this. But as we
yeah.
discuss, it's not the same. It's not the
But
same
look,
thing.
no, and I mean, again, your
No,
visceral reaction to this car is so telling because that's how everybody is, right? That's how everybody feels when
it's
they
sick.
look at this.
I would
Well,
love
Laura,
to have it go
think
in this thing. Oh
think about
man.
that rally you were going to do. That group. What's the name of that group you want to do the rally with that you submitted an application for?
Oh, dude, yeah. If you pulled up to Overcrest in this,
That's what this car is made for. Like
Yeah.
that's it. That's an overcrest car right there. And
and it would be so good for you. Probably get
oh, it'd
35
be
miles a
perfect.
gallon in this thing.
Yeah, it's a
And
fun event, track day.
It's rally style,
Yeah.
grand touring.
at the
Sports
same
car.
time, you could drive this all week in Monterey during car week, and everybody would be like stopping the street to look at you.
Also, the
Mhm.
fact that Rock Steely's so goddamn hard, world's most expensive Steely's, possibly. Oh
I mean,
man, rocks them.
I think those are custom built, oversized,
Yeah.
like they're OEM style built to be like a 16 or 17-inch wheel, which is always a
And
good decision.
I love how you can see the whole oil pan, you can see the control arms. It has the little pop outs in the front quarter. You can see the radiator. It's like everything is just so like look at the radiator fan down to the oil pan. You can
Yeah.
just see everything. It's a mechanical.
It's properly
Oh, it's like
Okay.
a Morgan three-wheeler experience
Oh,
with
yeah, dude. Yeah, and 240 horse. I mean, dude, it's that's like the E36 M3 engine. That's what I compare it to.
yeah.
That's a lot of power for this little thing. But
You
yeah,
know,
that was a good one.
it's it's funny, John. I had always heard of Alfaholics. I didn't realize they were like a singer for Alfa
Yeah,
Romeo. I didn't realize
they're
that.
like the singer of the Alpha community, and if I know Evo's featured them a ton in their magazine, and they've always been
Oh, sure.
really enamored with their product, just like they are with like singers and whatnot.
Yeah, so these guys do the top quality work, man.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's just a beautiful. And the thing is, when they do it like this, it's a brand new car. You fresh start, brand new car. Every bolt, nut, screw is. And what's the you guys see it on there too?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
240 horse, man. That thing is close. Yeah, close ratio. It probably tops out at like 110, which is so cool.
Look at this.
Yeah, that's a
You're getting
Titanium
a brand
piece of art.
new car. You could put 100K on this thing without having to worry about.
But look at the components they're using. I mean, look at how they describe the materials. I mean, it's just everything is geared toward lightweight durability.
Titanium act. This whole thing's titanium. That can't be cheap.
No.
That can't be anywhere close to cheap.
Nope.
And it's lighter than the original one. 34 kilograms. It's like 90 pounds. And it's just suspension saving. Titanium everything.
Everything's titanium.
Okay, so I'm sorry to keep beating this dead horse. Everything's titanium. Everything's custom made. Everything's like made in house. This is actually not a horrible deal. This is
No,
actually kind of a sick buy, and it's the
Oh, it
same
is.
components we're looking
yeah,
at right here.
and you're seeing this more and more. Even like now, you're seeing with like
Oh,
Lancia Delta Integrales. I will not be shocked. I mean, Subaru is kind. I
look
mean,
at that.
ProDrive's kind of touched upon it with some of the Subaru stuff. It's
Yeah.
premium stuff, but at the same
Oh
time,
man,
it's amazing.
guys. Yeah.
Well, what's also amazing is
Huh.
like they even did the luggage. Holy God! Like
Yeah,
what's
it's
a
just it's a presentation, and then they put in the effort. Look at even the fuel with the fuel door. It's just like
is the trunk lined with carbon fiber?
I think it's just raw. I think it's just raw aluminum, Jeff.
Okay, yeah.
Just unpainted raw.
So the thing was crazy that there's a market for it. Like there's people writing those checks, and that I mean I'm in this case I'll admit I'm flat out envious because I would love to write the check for one of these.
I also want to throw in as here's my last comment on this. As beautiful as it is, I bet you this thing is just like absolute intoxication to drive. And the
Yeah,
Oh my
noises that they
God!
make with
it
that
is.
motor, I mean, it's making 240 horse. It's probably making 110, 120 horsepower per liter, right? I don't know. I think it's a 2 liter. So, ooh, this thing is nuts. Anyways, yeah. Cheers to that one, guys. I guess we'll wrap it there, I suppose.
Yeah, good.
Good
Well,
stuff.
so this has been a unique discussion for us tonight because we really are trying to pivot a little bit more towards current events. And in the car community right now, I think there's nothing more current than what Elon Musk is up to and what he's going to do next. The state of the Porsche market and how everything about it is just white hot right now. And third, that the move to restomod is going to continue, but you can't half-ass it. You can't build your own restomod and hope to get all that money back, because there's players in that space now that are doing things at such a high level. It's I think it's interesting, right? Like every new market, every niche market that evolves or emerges, it's basically a signal that there's opportunity there. So there's probably still untapped opportunity as it relates to like waving your hand saying, I'm going to be the builder of cars in this category at this very high level. But similar to the person who's starting a Porsche parts business, I mean, your capital has to be, you've got to have the means to do this the right way. Otherwise, you're just going to be, having very expensive builds that don't earn a reputation for deserving a high price tag when they're done. So really interesting to see if this is going to continue. John, to your point, like ProDrive and whatnot, starting to dip a toe. I think it is going to continue. I think you're going to see this idea of a high-end custom build that also is high. It's just the high quality. The quality is through the roof in every possible way. But we're definitely going to see the men separated from the boys as it relates to companies that can command those prices, even in right now in the wake of a slowing economy. That a Singer or an Alfaholics, those guys can still get the money for their builds. Other companies, that's going to be hard to see through, but. Cool. This has been the commongear.com podcast where each week we discuss auction sales. We're going to evolve and discuss them in ways that go beyond just the sale result and look at it, how it intersects with the broader trend in the collector car and enthusiast car marketplace. So this is Jeff, John, Lars. Thanks for joining. And be sure to check out the commongear.com if you want to create a free account whereby you can start tracking and storing your invoices and your maintenance so that when you do take on a massive build, you can easily show people where you spent the money and why your asking price is what it is. The commongear.com is a very easy way to digitally chronicle your investment in the car via invoices, build photos, parts receipts, and so on. We've found that when you have that data in hand and can easily present it in a digital format, you stand a higher likelihood of netting a 10 to 20% increase in your sale price. So check it out. Create a free account today on thecommongear.com. And thanks again for watching. We'll see you back here next week.